U.S. has lost yet another multi-million-dollar fighter jet.
Another American A-18 fighter jet has been lost overboard.
It's very difficult, and it's particularly difficult at night.
It took just seconds. A $60 million A-18E Super Hornet slid off the edge of the USS Harry S. Truman's flight deck during a chaotic drone and missile attack in the Red Sea. This wasn't just the loss of an advanced multi-role fighter jet. A sailor suffered a minor injury, and the Navy's response signaled an immediate shift in posture. Was this a freak accident, or does it mark the beginning of something much more serious? The incident has raised urgent questions about accountability, operational risk, and the escalating threat environment now facing U.S. forces in one of the world's most volatile maritime corridors. On April 28, 2025, the USS Harry S. Truman was operating off the coast of Yemen in the Red Sea, a region where tensions had steadily escalated. The carrier's flight deck, usually governed by routine and coordination, was on heightened alert. Intelligence intercepts had warned of an imminent Houthi attack, and the crew moved with purpose, bracing for the unpredictable. The attack began without warning. Multiple Houthi drones and missiles targeted the Truman and its strike group in rapid succession. The ship's alarms pierced the air, and the flight deck erupted into a coordinated scramble, crews preparing aircraft for launch while simultaneously securing loose equipment and personnel. The Truman's captain ordered immediate evasive maneuvers, forcing the massive ship into sharp turns and sudden bursts of speed to avoid missile lock-on. These abrupt shifts disrupted the fragile order of the flight deck, transforming routine operations into a test of discipline and adaptability. Amid this turmoil, a $60 million A-18E Super Hornet, weighing about 60,000 pounds, was being repositioned across the deck by a heavy-duty tow tractor. Under normal circumstances, this process is straightforward, but as the Truman heaved and rolled, the tow crew fought to stabilize the aircraft on the slick pitching metal surface. Suddenly, a particularly violent maneuver combined with the wet deck caused the tractor to lose its grip. The Super Hornet, still attached, broke free. Both the jet and the tow tractor slid uncontrollably toward the deck's edge. Sailors shouted warnings, but within seconds, the aircraft and tractor plunged off the side, vanishing into the sea. A sailor near the towing point suffered a minor injury in the chaos, but flight deck operations continued with no interruption, a direct reflection of the Navy's zero-hesitation doctrine under fire. The loss of such a critical asset was absorbed in real time as the crew pressed forward, launching aircraft and maintaining defensive systems in the midst of ongoing threats. The Navy's initial report classified the event as a non-combat accident, officially called a non-combat accident, though it happened amid live Houthi drone and missile fire. However, this technical designation did not fully capture the reality on the deck. Insiders and defense analysts quickly challenged the label, pointing out that the loss was a direct consequence of the combat situation. The Truman's evasive maneuvers, necessary to avoid destruction, had placed extraordinary demands on both equipment and personnel. This was not a case of routine error or mechanical failure. It was the operational fallout of a high-intensity attack. The incident also highlighted the evolving nature of the threat. Houthi forces, supplied with advanced Iranian technology, were employing multi-axis tactics, drone swarms launched alongside ballistic missiles, designed to overwhelm even sophisticated naval defenses. These attacks forced the Truman to divide its attention and resources, increasing the risk of operational mishaps. In this case, the enemy's strategy successfully disrupted the carrier's stability, leading to the loss of a valuable aircraft and equipment. Despite the setback, the Truman's flight deck teams demonstrated resilience. Aircraft continued to launch, defensive systems remained engaged, and the carrier group neutralized several incoming threats. The immediate crisis passed, but the implications of the incident lingered. The loss of a $60 million jet, while only a fraction of the carrier's total assets, underscored the vulnerability of even the most advanced naval forces under sustained attack. Each loss of equipment, capability, or personnel compounds the challenge of maintaining operational readiness in a region as strategically vital as the Red Sea. The aftermath prompted a reassessment of risk and readiness. Intelligence analysts saw the incident not as an isolated event, but as part of a broader trend. Adversaries leveraging new tactics and technologies to challenge superior forces. The Truman's experience raised questions about how non-state actors, equipped with increasingly sophisticated weaponry, could threaten the balance of power at sea. These questions point to a deeper issue: how a group like the Houthis, operating in a resource-poor environment, can pose a credible threat to one of the world's most advanced carrier strike groups. Iranian technology has fundamentally altered the capabilities of the Houthi rebels, turning them into a formidable force in the Red Sea. The group's arsenal, once limited to improvised rockets and basic arms, now features advanced anti-ship missiles, GPS-guided rockets, and loitering drones supplied by Tehran. This transformation is visible not only in the hardware itself, but in the tactics the Houthis now employ, tactics that challenge even well-defended U.S. naval groups. The Red Sea is a strategic maritime choke point, handling roughly 10% of global trade. Its security is a top priority for the U.S. Navy and its allies. But the escalation in Houthi attacks has made these waters increasingly hazardous. The USS Harry S. Truman was redeployed to the region in direct response to this surge in hostilities, reflecting the urgency with which the U.S. views the threat. In recent months, the Houthis have not only targeted military vessels, but also commercial shipping and critical surveillance assets. Their success in downing at least 7 U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drones in the weeks before the Truman incident marked a new phase in their campaign, signaling both increased capability and intent. Iranian support has allowed the Houthis to move beyond crude, home-built munitions. Loitering munitions, often called suicide drones, are a prime example. These drones can remain airborne for extended periods, allowing operators to identify high-value targets before striking. In a congested maritime environment, this capability is particularly dangerous, as it forces defenders to maintain constant vigilance and respond to threats from multiple directions. The complexity of these attacks is further increased by the simultaneous use of anti-ship missiles and GPS-guided rockets, overwhelming ship defenses, and exploiting any lapse in coordination. Satellite imagery and intercepted footage from Houthi-controlled areas confirm the scale of Iranian support. Storage facilities packed with drones, rockets, and missiles underscore the group's growing operational reach. The sophistication of recent test launches, captured by both open-source analysts and U.S. intelligence, points to a deliberate strategy by Iran. By supplying the Houthis, Iran projects influence through a proxy force without committing its own troops. This approach allows Tehran to exert pressure on adversaries and disrupt regional stability at a fraction of the cost of direct engagement. The coordinated attack on the Truman demonstrated the effectiveness of these new tactics. Rather than launching indiscriminate barrages, the Houthis employed carefully timed waves of drones and missiles to divide and stretch the carrier group's defenses. The goal was to create windows of vulnerability, forcing the Truman to maneuver aggressively and allocate resources across multiple simultaneous threats. The loss of the Super Hornet was not an isolated mishap, but a direct result of the operational strain imposed by this kind of asymmetric warfare. This pattern of escalation is not limited to military targets. Previous attacks on Saudi oil facilities and international shipping have shown a willingness to target infrastructure vital to the global economy. The 2019 drone and missile strike on a Saudi oil processing plant, for example, temporarily disrupted global energy supplies and highlighted the reach of Iranian-backed proxy forces. With each successful attack, the Houthis refine their approach, learning from both successes and failures to enhance their operational effectiveness. Strategic analysts consistently point to the Iranian connection as the driver behind these advancements. It is not only advanced weaponry that is being transferred, but also technical expertise, targeting strategies, and operational coordination. Iran's support enables the Houthis to conduct complex operations that would be beyond the reach of a typical non-state actor. This dynamic creates a persistent challenge for the U.S. and its allies, who must now contend with a proxy force capable of testing and sometimes breaching the limits of modern naval defense. Despite these advancements, the Houthis remain acutely aware of their own constraints. Their strategy is designed to disrupt and impose costs rather than to achieve outright control. By forcing powerful adversaries to expend resources and accept risk, they create uncertainty and instability in a region already marked by volatility. Each engagement carries the potential for escalation, making every decision on the deck of a U.S. carrier a matter of strategic consequence. The attack on the Truman stands as the latest example of how Iranian-backed technology and tactics have reshaped the threat environment in the Red Sea. As the U.S. Navy adapts to this evolving challenge, the question becomes not only how to respond to individual attacks, but how to deter future ones. The events following the Truman incident would put this question to the test, as the U.S. prepared to send a message of its own. Retaliation came swiftly. Within hours of the Houthi drone and missile assault on the USS Harry S. Truman's carrier strike group, U.S. military leaders authorized a counterstrike designed to reassert control and demonstrate the consequences of attacking American assets in a key maritime corridor. The response was not only about immediate defense, but also about shaping the calculus of adversaries, watching closely from the region and beyond. The operation began with a calculated sequence. A-18G Growlers launched first, their mission to jam Houthi sensors and shut down early warning systems. By disrupting radar and sensor networks, these aircraft blinded Houthi operators and created a window for the next phase. This electronic warfare component was critical, ensuring that follow-on strikes would encounter minimal resistance, and that Houthi command centers struggled to maintain situational awareness. With Houthi defenses degraded, the Truman's air wing moved into action. A-18E Super Hornets, armed with Joint Direct Attack munitions and AGM-88 HARM missiles, launched from the flight deck, targeting radar installations and fixed infrastructure. At the same time, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers in the task force fired Tomahawk cruise missiles, each guided by GPS coordinates relayed from real-time drone surveillance. The integration of air and naval assets underscored the strike group's ability to coordinate complex operations under pressure. The selection of targets reflected a deliberate strategy. Among the primary objectives were a mobile radar unit concealed near the coast, a drone launch facility tied to earlier attacks, and a command bunker coordinating strikes on U.S. assets. These sites formed the backbone of Houthi offensive capability in the region. Destroying the mobile radar unit disrupted the group's ability to track and target ships at sea. The elimination of the drone launch facility reduced the immediate threat of further unmanned aerial attacks. Striking the command bunker dealt a blow to the operational leadership orchestrating these actions. Throughout the engagement, electronic warfare remained a constant. Growlers continued to jam not just radar, but also communications within Houthi ranks. This persistent interference left Houthi units disoriented and unable to mount an effective response. The technological advantage was clear. U.S. forces could operate with precision and speed, while Houthi defenders found themselves cut off from real-time intelligence and command direction. The impact of the strikes was quickly assessed through ISR platforms. Surveillance confirmed the destruction of at least 2 key operational sites, including the radar unit and drone launch facility. Intercepted communications from Houthi channels revealed confusion and a breakdown in command, with leaders struggling to re-establish contact and coordinate a response. For the U.S., this was a measured tactical victory, reducing the Houthis' capacity for immediate retaliation and restoring a degree of stability to the area. Strategically, the operation served a dual purpose. It was a direct response to the loss of the Super Hornet and the threat posed to the carrier group, but it also sent a message to Iran and other regional actors. The Pentagon's posture was clear. Attacks on U.S. forces would prompt a rapid and overwhelming reply, and proxy warfare would not shield sponsors from the consequences of destabilizing actions. Each missile strike reinforced the point that escalation would be met with force, and that the U.S. retained both the will and the means to protect its interests in the Red Sea. While the strikes achieved their immediate objectives, the broader implications remained unsettled. The Houthis' reliance on Iranian technology and support meant that degraded infrastructure could be rebuilt, and the risk of renewed attacks persisted. Experts noted that the cycle of provocation and response carried the risk of further escalation, drawing in more actors and raising the stakes for regional security. The Truman's air wing and supporting ships maintained heightened readiness in the wake of the operation, aware that the situation could shift with little warning. The tempo aboard the carrier reflected this vigilance, as crews prepared for the possibility of renewed hostilities. Yet amid the tactical successes and restored order, the incident forced a reconsideration of the challenges facing U.S. forces in the Red Sea. The loss of a single fighter jet set against the backdrop of complex retaliatory operations, raises questions about the future of security in these contested waters. The broader implications of the Red Sea incident reach far beyond the immediate tactical outcomes. Security, trade, and the risk of escalation converge in this narrow maritime corridor, making every event here a matter of global consequence. The Red Sea, spanning more than 1,300 miles and connecting the Mediterranean to the Arabian Sea through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, is a vital artery for international commerce. Approximately 10% of global trade, including crucial oil shipments and container traffic, passes through these waters. Any disruption, even brief, ripples outward, threatening supply chains and economic stability on a global scale. The USS Harry S. Truman incident highlights how rapidly evolving threats can compromise even the most closely monitored regions. The Houthi movement, once dismissed as a regional insurgency, has become a significant military actor capable of shaping the security environment for all who transit the Red Sea. Iranian support has enabled the Houthis to adopt asymmetric tactics, using loitering drones, anti-ship missiles, and GPS-guided rockets to challenge traditional naval power. These weapons are inexpensive and easily replaced, yet their ability to disrupt operations and inflict damage is outsized compared to their cost. The U.S. Navy, while technologically advanced, now faces a persistent threat that is difficult to counter with conventional doctrine alone. The carrier strike group's emergency maneuvers during the attack revealed the limitations of traditional strategies. A single drone or missile, if not intercepted in time, can force a multi-billion-dollar warship into evasive action, disrupt flight operations, and threaten both personnel and equipment. This dynamic has forced the Navy to adapt. Since mid-March 2025, the U.S. has conducted over 800 precision strikes against Houthi targets, part of a sustained campaign to degrade their expanding capabilities and deter further aggression. Each strike is intended to send a clear message. Attacks on U.S. forces will be met with overwhelming response. However, this campaign comes at a cost. The operational tempo has increased dramatically. Even minor Houthi attacks have forced the Navy into dozens of daily sorties under Operation Rough Rider, straining resources and requiring constant vigilance. The frequency and sophistication of these attacks have broader effects as well. Insurers, shipping companies, and international regulators must now weigh the risks of transiting the Red Sea. Persistent threats could prompt costly route diversions, longer transit times, and increased prices for goods worldwide. The economic impact, once a theoretical risk, becomes increasingly tangible as attacks continue. The risk of escalation is ever present. Each U.S. or allied strike carries the potential for miscalculation. A missile that veers off course, a drone that strikes unintended infrastructure, or a misunderstood radar signature could draw additional nations into direct confrontation. The presence of Iranian technology and guidance in Houthi arsenals further complicates the picture, linking the regional conflict in Yemen to broader geopolitical rivalries. The Red Sea is no longer a secure passage. It has become a flashpoint where local actions can have global repercussions. Strategic debate in Washington and among allied planners now centers on two main options: escalation or recalibration. Escalation means deploying more ships and patrols, increasing visible presence to deter further attacks and reassure allies. Recalibration, by contrast, emphasizes the use of unmanned ISR assets, distributed surveillance, and offshore capabilities to minimize both financial and human costs while maintaining operational readiness. Each approach has trade-offs. A heavier footprint could deter attacks but risks further inflaming tensions and drawing the U.S. deeper into Yemen's conflict. A leaner, technology-driven posture could leave gaps that adversaries might seek to exploit. The incident aboard the Truman forced planners to weigh these options. Was the Super Hornet's loss simply an accident in the chaos of combat traffic, or evidence of a tactical shift by the Houthis? This question underscores the evolving nature of warfare in the Red Sea, where asymmetric tactics can expose vulnerabilities in even the most advanced forces. As the U.S. and its allies adapt to these realities, the challenge will be to secure this critical waterway without triggering a wider conflict. The decisions made in response to this incident will shape not only the immediate security of the Red Sea, but also the future of global trade and military strategy. As threats continue to evolve, the need for vigilance, adaptation, and strategic clarity remains paramount. With global trade and regional stability on the line, the loss of the Super Hornet during Operation Rough Rider is more than a single setback. It highlights the evolving risks of modern naval warfare in contested waters like the Red Sea. As asymmetric threats continue to test U.S. carrier groups, the debate intensifies. Should the United States double down with more carriers and destroyers, or pivot toward a strategy centered on tech-based ISR and unmanned systems? We want to hear your perspective. Should U.S. strategy focus on increased force projection, or is it time to recalibrate for a new era of maritime security? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.